What is it? Where does it come from? How many has Donald Trump committed? The Victorian government recently released a bunch of statistics about crime in our state, and there's been some crazy conclusions. Turns out from April last year to April this year, there's been a 4% increase in crime across the state, and there's been a 20% increase in robbery. So I guess the real question is, what's going on in Victoria? All right, well, we know crime is a problem. How do we solve it? Now, both parties in Victoria, they have their own solutions. The Labor Party, they want to introduce tougher restrictions on bail. That mean people who've committed violent offences can't be given bail. The Liberal Party, they have their own solution. They want to introduce something called mandatory minimum sentencing. We're sitting here with Michael Chappell. Michael is a lawyer who's been practicing in the criminal field for 35 years, and he's also the grandfather of my girlfriend. So we've sat down with him today to talk crime and make a good impression. Would you mind explaining briefly what a mandatory minimum is?
Well, a mandatory minimum requires that if you commit a designated offence, if you commit a rape, for example, no matter what kind of rape and no matter in what circumstances, you receive a particular minimum penalty. Well, I think they're a dreadful idea. I've always thought they're a dreadful idea. And I've been fulminating against them for many years, actually. I mean, the whole point of it is you appoint judges and magistrates, you pay them a lot of money, and then you effectively say, well, you're incapable of making a proper decision, so we're taking it away from you.
So maybe you're thinking, all right, David, you seem like a pretty cool guy. You look like someone who recycles. Thank you, I do. But do I even know anything about crime? You're probably wondering, have I even met a criminal before? Look at me, I'm wearing a tie. I clearly went to private school. I know a lot of criminals. I mean, they are all white-collar criminals, but, you know, embezzlement takes work. Hey, so we're here with Doug Chappell. Doug's a comedian. He's also got a master's in psychology.
Well, I always had a passion for sort of helping people, I think. I grew up in a sort of working class area. I think I'm sort of drawn to sort of the people you grow up with, and you've seen a cycle continue. So you sort of, if you can, you want to help break that cycle.
Well, I think A, how do you break that cycle? And B, I mean, what is it about these areas that leads to so much criminality?
I think that the main thing is if you get people when they're sort of younger and have programs and have sort of things where you can intervene.
All right, so we got changes to our Bail Act, we got mandatory minimum sentencing. I guess the real question is, does any of this tough on crime stuff actually work? The Law Institute of Victoria, now this is an advisory body for the government. They released a report, and the conclusion they came to was that mandatory minimums increase crime. And the reason is actually pretty simple when you think about it. See, you get these people who've committed like one crime in their whole lives. You bring a mandatory minimum in, those people have to go to prison. And once they're in prison, they meet people who sometimes are lifetime offenders. They start swapping war stories, they learn things about one another, and suddenly you've got all these new people with newfound information about crime back in the population, ready to commit more crimes. So, you know, it's criminal fads popping up everywhere. It's like the crime version of fidget spinners.